You could be doing everything right and still end up poor at 65. Save 10%. Max out your 401k. Be patient. Let compound interest work its magic. That plan has a name. MJ DeMarco calls it the slow lane. And he says it's not a wealth plan at all. It's a stall tactic dressed up as financial wisdom. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why and what he did instead to become a millionaire by 31. This is the Millionaire Fastlane. Picture this. You're 28. You've been contributing to a retirement account for 6 years. You pull up the projection calculator one night, half out of curiosity, half out of guilt for not checking it sooner. It tells you that if you keep doing exactly what you're doing, same job, same savings rate, same patient discipline, you'll have enough to retire comfortably in 37 years. You stare at that number for a long time. 37 years. You'll be 65. Your best decades, your energy, your health, the years you could actually enjoy money the most, will already be spent earning the right to finally relax. Nobody warned you this was the deal. You just signed up for it, one paycheck at a time, because everyone around you was doing the exact same thing, and it sounded responsible. MJ DeMarco has a different word for that plan. DeMarco grew up poor, watching his mother struggle financially for years. As a teenager, he had an encounter that quietly rewired the rest of his life. A young Lamborghini owner who, when DeMarco asked what he did for a living, said something that stuck with him for decades. "I'm an inventor, not a doctor, not a lawyer, not someone who'd spent 40 years climbing a ladder. An inventor in his 20s, driving the car DeMarco had only ever seen in posters." That moment planted a question DeMarco couldn't shake. Why was everyone telling him to take the slow road when a faster one clearly existed? He eventually mapped out 3 roads people unknowingly choose between, almost never consciously. The sidewalk. Spend everything, save nothing. Wealth never even enters the plan. The slow lane. Work for decades, save diligently, hope compound interest, eventually adds up to freedom, usually around retirement age, if nothing goes wrong along the way. The fast lane. Build something, a business, a system, an asset that produces wealth in years, not decades, by directly solving a problem for a large number of people. Most people are placed on the slow lane by default, without ever being told there were other roads available. That's about to change. Picture the retirement calculator again, the one that told you 37 years. Here's what it doesn't show you on the screen. The assumption baked into every single one of those projections is that the stock market behaves predictably, that you never lose your job, that no emergency ever drains your savings, and that you're willing to trade the most physically capable decades of your life for a payoff at the very end of them. DeMarco's attack on the slow lane isn't that saving is bad. Saving is fine. His attack is on the math. Picture 2 people. One invests $200 a month for 40 years, trusting compound interest to eventually turn it into real wealth. The other spends those same 40 years, or even just 5 or 6 of them, building one single asset, a business, a system, something that can scale. The first person's wealth depends almost entirely on time, decades of it, patiently waiting, hoping nothing goes wrong along the way. The second person's wealth depends on value. How many people they help, how big a problem they solve, how well the thing they built actually works. Time you cannot speed up. Value you can. That single distinction is the entire argument of this book. There's a trade hiding inside almost every job, and most people never actually look at it directly. You trade hours for dollars. 40 hours this week in exchange for a paycheck. 40 hours next week for another one. Here's the part that should genuinely bother you. That trade doesn't change much no matter how good you get at your job. A slightly bigger paycheck, sure, but the structure stays identical. Your income is permanently capped by the number of hours you personally show up and work. DeMarco calls this trading tome for money, and he argues it's mathematically incapable of producing real wealth, no matter how disciplined you are about saving the dollars from it. Compare that to a business, even a small one. Build it once. It can sell to 10 customers, or 10,000, without you working 10,000 times harder. The income stops being tied to your personal hours and starts being tied to the value of the system itself. This is uncomfortable to hear if you've spent years being praised for your work ethic, your reliability, your willingness to put in the hours, because none of that on its own was ever going to be the thing that made you wealthy. It was just the thing that kept you exactly where you were. DeMarco doesn't just criticize the slow lane. He hands you an actual framework for what to build instead. 5 filters he calls the commandments of the fast lane, and they're brutally specific. Needs. Does it actually solve a real problem people have? Or is it just something you'd like to sell? Entry. Can someone easily copy it? If anyone with a laptop can replicate your idea in a weekend, it's not a fast lane business. It's a hobby with extra steps. Control. Do you actually own and control it? Or are you dependent on a platform, a boss, an algorithm that could change tomorrow? Escato, can it reach 100 people as easily as it reaches one? If not, you've built a job, not a business. Time. Does it eventually run without you trading your personal hours for its income? Most business ideas fail at least one of these. Most jobs fail almost all of them. Here's why this matters more than it sounds like it should. It's not a moral judgment about jobs being bad. It's a filter, a way to immediately spot whether something has any chance of producing real wealth before you spend years finding out the hard way. Here's the idea that quietly undercuts almost everything social media has taught you about getting rich. Wealth doesn't look like spending. DeMarco is blunt about this. He spent years broke, watching people who looked successful from the outside, driving cars they couldn't actually afford, performing a lifestyle that had nothing underneath it. Real wealth, in his framework, looks almost boring from the outside. It's a system quietly producing income whether you show up to it today or not. It's not the car in the driveway. It's the asset nobody can see, sitting underneath the car, that paid for it without flinching. Picture 2 people again side by side, post photos that look identical on the surface. One financed the car, the watch, the trip, all of it stacked on debt, all of it dependent on next month's paycheck, staying exactly the same. The other built a small system first, quietly for years, that nobody online ever saw. And only afterward did the lifestyle follow, paid in full, by something that kept producing whether they were resting or working. From a distance, you cannot tell these two people apart. Up close, one of them is one bad month away from collapse, and the other isn't. There's a sentence M.J. DeMarco uses near the end of this book that reframes everything that came before it. He says wealth isn't an event. It's not a single decision, a single business, a single lucky break. It's a process. And the process starts the moment you stop asking, "How do I save enough?" and start asking a completely different question. What can I build that solves a problem for thousands of people? Sit with that for a second, because it's a genuinely different question than the one most of us were raised on. How do I save enough keeps your focus entirely on subtraction. Spend less, sacrifice more, wait longer. It's a question about restriction. What can I build keeps your focus on creation, on value, on problems, on people. It's a question about contribution. One question shrinks your life slowly, for decades, in exchange for a payoff at the very end of it. The other question asks you to grow uncomfortably starting now, with no guarantee and no timeline handed to you in advance. DeMarco isn't promising it's easy. He's blunt about the failure rate, the years of effort, the very real risk of building something that doesn't work. The fast lane isn't fast because it's effortless. It's fast because it removes the artificial ceiling the slow lane quietly placed on your entire life. The ceiling that said your income could only ever grow as fast as your hours did. That ceiling was never actually real. It was just the only road anyone showed you. There's a number you've probably been carrying around for years without saying it out loud. A retirement age. A someday. A quiet acceptance that your best years are simply the price of admission for your last ones. I'm not telling you the fast lane is easy or guaranteed or right for everyone watching this. It isn't. But I'm telling you this. Most people never even find out there was another road because nobody ever showed it to them. You just did. What you do with that is yours to decide. If this video moved something in you, don't subscribe out of habit. Subscribe because the next video on this channel might be the next piece of the road nobody showed you either. See you in the next one.